everyone, this is okay. So this all started actually with my friend Mackenzie, and I'll show a little photo of her here. Bestie girl. Mackenzie is such a awesome person, and I absolutely love her so much. And I know you're gonna be watching this, Mackenzie, so I love you so much. But so Mackenzie and I, it was our first time actually hanging out. Kind of crazy, but we known each other for a long time. We go to church together, and we went on a walk. And on this walk, we were just like talking about life, and it was about a couple weeks before I left for Italy to do my student teaching. And on that walk, we kind of were just discussing and talking about our different stages of life and, you know, what was going to be happening in the future. And one thing that I mentioned was that I was so upset and just like disheartened that the American dream, American lifestyle was really to go from one thing to the next and really just have like a rigorous life. Like, I realized that other cultures like don't have this mindset. Some of them don't have this mindset of just like always needing to have something next. And in Italy, like, Italian culture is really like slowed down, and they really care about life. And I feel like in America, we really choose like work over life. And in Italy, like, they choose life over work for the most part. I'm not speaking all the time, but for the most part. And so from that, I kind of just had this idea that I wanted to do that, and I wanted to really just live my life and not choose work first, because I know that while I'm young and I don't have as many responsibilities and I don't have as many commitments to things, that I could choose to do what I want to do. And so Kenzie just said, well, have you ever thought about like being an au pair or doing this or that? And as soon as she said that, I was like, I don't remember what an au pair is. I don't know what it is. Can you enlighten me? And so she kind of talked about it and kind of talked about how it's like a nanny, but it's abroad and you get to live with the family and all these kinds of things. And it piqued my interest. So then I actually went home and did a little bit of research. And at that point in time, I really, really, really wanted to go to Finland or Denmark, just because of their education system. I wanted to grow in knowledge in those areas and in those things. So immediately I started looking at places in Denmark or Finland. And I just let that thought about being an au pair kind of just sit in my heart. So I wasn't telling my parents yet, because I tend to make pretty rash decisions about anything that I'm gonna do. And so I kind of sat on it for a while, and I went to Italy, and I just like kept kind of thinking about it. And I knew I was gonna have to make a decision near April because of schools. I would need to start applying to schools if I was not going to take the route of being an au pair. But so I started kind of praying about it and realized that maybe it was the right decision to start to look for au pair positions. So I researched and I looked across literally any country, any place. So I talked to families in Spain, Italy, England, Finland, Australia. Anyway, so I talked to a bunch of different families, and the only one that really clicked originally was this family in England. And they were a Jewish family, which I thought was really interesting and something different for me, especially because I am Christian. So I was just, I liked their family. I loved how positive they were for the first interaction that I had with them, and it just seemed to be the right fit. And they lived in the middle of England, so it would have been really cool to explore that. But what ended up happening was was feeling that I was getting closer to them, but the mom had just other people that were lined up, so it ended up not working out. And that night I felt pretty discouraged, actually. I thought that this family was going to be the family that I was going to au pair for, and I was really excited. So I was really disappointed and felt very rejected after they said that it wasn't going to be maybe the right fit. So I ended up just like bawling my eyes out. I like got down on my knees and I just like put my forehead to the floor, and I just like, I mean, I was still crying at this point, but I just like opened my hands, and I felt like I knew that I was surrendering my plan, and I just said, Lord, I'm surrendering what I have and the plans that I'm making. And if this is from you, if this au pair thing is from you, then I need you to provide the opportunity, and I need you to lead me to where I need to go. And in that moment, I didn't feel a lot of peace. But I did know that like I did surrender it to God, and I know that my God is one that will always provide when I need something. Because if he provides for the sparrows, if he provides for the flowers, then he's going to provide for me. So I surrendered in that moment. I gave it to him, and automatically, like through the next couple days and weeks, I was hearing like about Australia. I remember specifically I was at a lunch it was after a church that I attended, and at the lunch I was sitting next to this woman, and we just kind of like sparked conversation, which by the way was hard in Italy because obviously they spoke Italian, but she spoke English. So that was super, super like God sighting that she spoke English and was able to talk to me. So anyway, we're talking and she just like brings up Australia. And then I start to say like, oh, well, I'm thinking of au pairing and like maybe Australia is the place. And I keep going back to that time whenever I'm thinking about this opportunity now. Is like at that moment, I had no idea that Australia was going to be the place for me, but God knew. And so God kept like literally whispering Australia into my ear, kept kind of like pointing me in that direction. So what ended up happening is a couple days later, after my whole England thing, I sat down at my computer and I narrowed down my searches on aupairworld.com for only Australia. And I come across this family, which is the family I'm at now, and we were chatting back and forth, and then we were gonna call. So it got to be like 15 minutes before I was ready to call, or before they were ready to call me, and I just remember this state of fear and this like spirit of fear wash over me, and I was so afraid. I was so afraid, I think, of getting rejected again, and so afraid that this wasn't going to be the family for me, and that I was going to have to search for a lot longer. And then I think the Lord just kind of like reminded me that this was not a confirmation call, that this was just a getting to know you interaction. And I didn't need to have answers. I didn't need to have anything together. All I needed to do was go on the call and call them. That's all I needed to do. So I did. I called them, and the call went so great. I was getting chills the entire time. They were saying how they just needed like this older sister kind of figure in the house, and that's really what they wanted. They wanted another family member to be added to the house, and obviously benefits that like I'm able to watch over the kids and stuff, but more so that they just wanted this older sister figure. I just told them that I wasn't really sure about au pairing, that I didn't know if that's what the Lord had for me. And their response was that, if this is what the Lord had for me, they would be so welcome to have me. And if not, that's okay. And that's the kind of response that I really needed to hear. And I just felt this like peace. But at this time, I didn't obviously make my confirmation. I needed to have a little bit more, of talking with them. So what ended up happening is I continued to just pray about it and think about it. And it was almost always on my mind. And the family and I had a couple more calls. And as soon as my parents got to Italy, I knew that the first thing I wanted to do was pray with them about it. And then I would be able to make my decision after I really prayed about it. And so my family, like when they came, it was literally the first night that we were there. We sat down at the table, and I just remember I was sitting between my mom and my dad, and I was sitting there and just holding their hands. And as they were like just praying over the situation, praying over me, I just like could not stop crying. And I think the reason I couldn't stop crying is honestly because I knew that this was what the Lord had for me. And just hearing how comfortable my parents were with it honestly kind of surprised me, just because of them not being super comfortable about, me going to Italy. I knew that they also felt that this was something that the Lord was able to call me to, and that this wasn't something that I just like randomly thought about, that this was something that the Lord kind of had dwelling within me. So, then obviously, I accepted the offer, and then 2 months later, here I am. Things haven't been all fancy dancy wonderful, but I'm with a family, and family has different family dynamics. And so ebbing and flowing and needing to understand like where my ground stands and all those kinds of things, just having to figure out everything. And it's only day 5. And I've been telling myself that it's only 5 days, and I'm here for like 200 and something more. So day 5, like I'm doing awesome for day 5. To be able to meet more Aussies, I know that he brought me here for a reason. And so I'm going to be able to walk in that confidence and that authority that he has what's best for me. So now, things that you could be praying about. One thing that I really want prayer over is just knowing how to be a light to all of the people around me, knowing how to go about situations and conversations, just prayers over knowledge of what to do in those situations. And I would also say just prayers over getting to know new people and new people at the church and just new people in the community and whatnot. But other than that, I think everything is honestly going really good so far, and this is a really, really sweet family, and I don't feel pressure to do anything or anything. I just feel very supported. So thank you for all your prayers, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will bring you along for my first adventure when I have it. So see you soon. Bye.